Yami pen na the 24-hour economy I have. And we'll be able to be pet there. Because then I'm managed from what's in a buy or what's peaceful. Because my hope of what's about what is the buy. What is now my fear of what's to buy it. Because there are 7 times I pay. And it's maybe on the sort of Ghana may want to say as a president here. I had a tiny because of what's the mind in here. What's the good part of buying? I'm a big guy of pasta. I'm a used to a year to mind. And until when is in the buyer, say the fear you to so for. Now, I'm a papa that time out with. I'm a see every Saturday. Because Mamma Baba any now, the good father is coming about any now, so my. And I'm and I will let me ask you. Now, Mammy, who can tell us who's going to what is the better? Send the show fire and then walk to have it to me. Dana, I had me after someone. So, yeah, you need to have one. A person and sister. America, a Bible, that day, a possible, what a day, a possible. I am a busy, but and you can I have for a kind of I don't know about me. I went to me. I got for. Let me my way. If I was on Sunday, what's your back on? I cannot feel about if the family would say, I was your boy. I am able to say, a queen in Kaka, it's near we came over there 70 years. Yeah, and then I'm a paying or say, I had the same power economy work. Yeah, one baby, not and yet into your boss about yes, master or the whole ever become not same power economy work. If you are boys and say, oh my God, the baby, you know, not some of them went to me and attack the economy. There's nowhere. I'm the man of finance on the president.
Yansa, Savisha Fidia. Modia Maye Yamihu, a year Nana Kwasi, our year Ashanti Regional Chairman, Emma NDC, Amanyo Konomu, NDC, and Pedifua Woodwalk. Now, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, what he can't want to say, one a year a domino Becassa. A man for a share, you must say, what Becassa for no maybe a no so Elcoso, our Santibantamana.
So far, there's not been any hint there. The airport or Santibantam there. There won't be any the Ashanti Kingdom in Kenya. There's no hint as to say His Excellency, the President John Dramani Mahama, but so far, is willing and ready. So far now, the issues about the economy and why the MPP, they say, among voting against the MPP and the NDC must win the next elections. And I say, it's on the bill of John Dramani Mahama say, but surprises can happen. It's an a year, but in summer airport, and but for Modiato, ECG, so organized labor, Munciano, John Dramani Mahama, I can want them, say, or support the call. If we are hoping, say, or better time, also, this one say, oh, share because the marketing hub, and I say, the just a CFA, John Dramani Mahama is expected, so better, the JD host, and also, to me, about the cost of ECG and the electricity tariffs, and if it's in the hour of my mind. So, I hope he speak about a number of issues here.
Yeah, but so share a dreadful for now. Omu Musuto, Muabra, and Nanti, you cost one now. What's your more reaction? And they said, yeah, Omusi J, Omo Nanti Swa, a dear Neka. What does it say?
Unanimous, Omonia, Mammy, are not talk to Saba, there, and then post the and tongue for the big and got the incident. I'm another business. It's a phone nano about in their numbers. Also, Momo such as water, Kelly Willie, Yadi, Riako, Kelly Willie, Yadi, in the normal scheme of things. And how I am about we are not passing, or more Estoniama, or more DGH. It's a phone about one thing, what you know, or more. There would be Yamako Jemu, Nayan Kwa, and I hope that's true. Into no politicians, maybe I can't be an omega. They will no more get one. We said now we now about one thing. I don't want to walk.
Okay, what's up, baby? I want to say, yeah. What do you say? Ready for the be or more so Tony more and Abenya or Akasa and I say almost what you walk on Abenya Atwaso and your Medin Coma. Twaso over to you and your Munin Ankasa, young call.
Okay, so it's over here, W, and then what? Then they say, but you free. I'm going to feel bad. Then they show signs that W, economy of finance, what the one I get working. I was very young as a youth. And then walk, working for service for people as a youth. They tell Farmer said, I'm a lawyer, and I need some more panel. Yes, if you're a piano, there's some kind of thing to our own. I'm a president 4 years. Okay, no, Mama, as a youth, I'm a boss. If you convince me that this is get a second chance, you don't do more than what you did. If it's creating a lot of jobs for a lot of people, but with the Ghanaians, they are not doing that. You are put there, my who are cement to our, I think now to our, who want to go place here, what's that? Politics, finance, what's that? What is ready for? If you mean as a youth, you are supposed to know at least, let them do my NDC. I'm not talking about Mama. Now you put implementation of German Ghana. But I feel about where to export our economy. $10 billion infrastructure food. But to market food. After a while, it's so good. Before of this one, and as well, if you can't find it, open road. It's going to make driving food. It is at the target that I'm here, that's not for me to say. The penalty for me to say. As to tell me to say my. I need to the Treno. Now for 19 years. I yet to be person. Before we knew the man simple. The staff of Father Soda and over my Mama, and what was your food? You don't want to us. I say you have not given that. You need my free time. I get your question. You need baby apple. You need private jet. You need land cruiser. You need time. In the first time it's crowd. Let's try to support some for them. I will fight back. It is a strong and another committee. It will be free and fair. Therefore, my son, let's get free and fair. You don't want anything. Then you're going to free and fair. Therefore, perform the Katana. Start talking now. It is big now. Now, yes, I took them some dinner. Therefore, the best of the place, Emma Peace, and ready before and after the election. Almost at the enter, the Muno, that's the main between America, the Muno, because I say as a new professor, what I'm seeing is not easy. It's not an easy thing to the profession. And that's the police, the rest of the Paraton, what to put in my year. I know you start to have a club. Let's have a if the way I look at the state of affairs, or in the electoral commission, the over the panopal year 2 years, and I mean the new Kuludia, or the next election. I also your opinion that who's your impact.
Maybe to my two quarter never, my two constituency. Yeah, Member, no, I yet took to Amayan. Oh, good car. Go car to be fire. Where you go car not to walk. Amayan to go. This one of them was here, over the corner. So there, go car, what better to a mama, to a can't get some to us. Whoever to support that in a good. Amayan to go, that is a about. If you have some man to put in your car to wait here, or put yourself watching. I'm going to say, yes, to a better before. Now, you're not going to you. Mama, but what an oil on science was so. That's what they say. Yeah, but you put a number. I didn't hear. Okay, before that, I want to say, how many you go? Yeah,
all right. Yeah, wrap up on Emfa Train has say, and kind of bet was so prem to a bread, Cassie Bomo, and I feel so you do media hodua. I carrying in a hand, so you're bebremo. Near His Excellency John Dramani Mama Becassa, or Shazas or Casada, and Commono Coswa, you bet me. Eddie Abremo, Ewo, Jumedi, Yiswa, but when Yankasai, na Nancy and Gusua, Air Coswano. You know, I was on my my updates. I would do. Maybe Facebook Live, I'm a woman in a coffee dance, so there we are. I will share ye. Sansona, a year money man, was a Mahama, no size. Sansona, a year Peter Ferguson was it, that's right. Razak, Adefio, was it SY said no size. McLeod, Maxwell, as a message on the bar, was say, JDM, we away. Razak, Adefio, Sansobio, was it. Kwame Minkah nyame nhiramu nyina samode emfonyi wei efi Kumase ebra ye and afei so eno kyerɛw wɔse Ashanti region will give MPP heart attack wahwe hwɛ dɔm a apie aba abɔnten Ibrahim Anyas deɛ ɔne wagu ahome paa no so sanso na Rabi Musa also di echi wo Facebook Live power 979 and a TVXYZ Ghana ɔman no yɛnya atena se yɛgo break mra na. Okay, yeah, twas wrong. Okay, I like that. Because we are going to talk to the coolest, the member of parliament of the coolest constituency in Ghana. Honorable Sam George, what's to say? I know, okay, Honorable Sam George, stop it. Honorable Doctor Zaneto Ajima Rawlings, MP, Koliklote constituency. Honorable, adesye nyina, Ghana for nyina, say akwaba.
Yeah, I'm a member of Afishapa.
I feel competent.
I feel we member.
I feel the whole year.
Say a member of Afishapa.
Yeah.
We'll blouse ED. Anyway, we'll blouse.
So we should be happy. We have said yes, sit here. I like that. There's honorable punchline here, Jayo. Now, Colin Clotte, you remember home. Yanka Sam for Kumasi on Kakra. A young one, Miss Omebe to make video no area chair photo screen so. A young one, Doma, a poor bar mountain. Wabra His Excellency John Mahamane, NDC in Penny for was anti Mountain national level. Bois ama for nyanti ase what 24-hour economy 90 one a doma a piaba bonti Kumasi ni stronghold of the MPP.
I would say yeah fun to say a stronghold in we can't penetrate the area, but if you go back to the 80s and the 90s now, so back under PNDC and under President Rawlings and first NDC government, lots of the major infrastructure, especially with regards to roads, it started there. Because if you look geographically, Bebia Kumasi Wono, more or less where all of the commerce was going through or emanating from. That road infrastructure needed to happen in order to open the country up.
Yeah.
Near March, it's a goods would have safe and easier passage from the north through to the south and vice versa. Historically, a lot of inroads have been made. And then subsequently, the infrastructure that was added by Professor Mills as well as President Mahama. The fact is, well, in the end, your work speaks for itself. People may choose to decide, say, be a memory, but the reality is,
yeah.
Na say obi foforo abana ni pakro no say obeye bia chen de wo be ye no. Na bia watwen ya wonhu hwe. Say one kasa who say sana dear nani pakron or yama no a de pana or yama na one who I'm say sometimes no the way people may wrongly or differently judge Ibi Asante maybe we all need to look at it once again.
Yes, I'm
Let us not just assume things. One who say MPP one stronghold any Asante mining teacher say that is the end of that. No. Because President Mahama
good question.
But the reality is they are all part of this country we call Ghana. But the fact that Abia you hold yourself with your pride, say me identity me Ghana ni but me sentini me does not mean that you have to be Abia attacked. Maybe we just need to look at the approach that we are using, our strategy for campaigning in the Ashanti region. You need to look at it differently. I'm saying I will say a share because you see you can't use the same approach that you are using in other regions. As no baby any woman said the strategy will be using a campaign woman. And perhaps maybe some of the things we need to do is actually anyway, mommy.
But I say the omo yes abre say ye nanti krom na ya church amanfo ya twa amanfo adwen si John Mahama nhye ya wo kan say 24-hour economy working. Eyade e beboa ma amanfo wa santimantem ate de NDC ginama ene de NDC deba.
And no nshase. But there has to be, messaging be simple, easy to understand, easy to share. We know is to raise the awareness. Now we need to make sure that we are sustaining that. Said be a woman be a woman who are they around the stage of the walk, and now who were not around, will be able to have access to the messaging. Very easy, very straightforward. And you're so technical, I so intangible to the person. Into my mom, dear, as I see it, it's a beginning, and it's a very good beginning. And if we can maintain some momentum now, I'm saying we'll do quite well.
Social expectations, we're final one. Social expectations, the analysis be na a bit more ye. Wabra minia wisdom header jom and no more kasa. Bako kasa no say ono mine said you may canino ebra no we yen demoni nyina no na masika tena fie masika tena omo. Does it give you an idea say at least I'm for an idea of the 24-hour economy no ebetima ya mo ana?
I think so, but the fact of the matter is, I would say, that comes with time. Once we understand how we're going to execute it, because there are different aspects to it. BB to say the cost of electricity, it was to say, if we don't look at that aspect, in terms of the industrial aspect of it, how differently are we putting the rates for? The companies we're hoping that they will run these kinds of shifts, so that it makes it. Cost effective. Because company be new was Oman options say on your 24-hour, not the environment is reasonable. But say nyemamu enyo easy, not just at the end of it. Say they sit here. Now you run at a loss. I know that there's a lot of wisdom and strategic thinking that has gone into this, and all of these factors have been also considered. I think really say idea people are interested in doing. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have an all of country approach, getting out of this mess will be difficult. All of country approach, which means say dear baby and a government in Kwana, government institutions in Kwana that must participate in the nation building and the fixing of this. But the leadership, NDC Debrebano, that is what will give the guidance on how the rest of the country can be a part of the solution. Because at the end of the day, as I always say, so would the BB pa baby, one of my work on must be part of it. One to me, mama can say, okay, we're coming to fix it and we're doing it for you. Debbie, the involvement, the buy-in of one of my ekasa, is what will make it succeed. And see, for me, I think this is a good way of making this whole information accessible to the public and to make it tangible. Because there be a 24-hour economy now, and then Facebook and then social media. Right. So now we are not actually going out. That personal interaction now it makes it not so easy for you to break it down. A best obedru points be when you need people to just automatically understand the basics. It makes it difficult because what training, but at this point I started weighing momentum, the way it's picking up, and in Kumasi, you know how it is. It's a good sign.
But evidentially, may back to argument that we raised a while ago, say, was say yes, I rethink about said ye asantemai na manual se many said ye amafo si twin say why stronghold ma MPP evidentially no ye to aba man dodo na MPP afemo eno na ma amafo twin sa be nay nante ya o man nante obi send a message on Facebook say remember MPP for heart attack for the optics. Yes.
Of course, definitely, because I mean, at the end of the day, so while we shut down now, we ember show. So if you are not in support of it, we ember show. But in reality, I think I'm say about a year and a half ago. Koye branch. No, I'm say almost 2 years ago. Started the reorganization within the party. Started branch elections in Sano. I think on a few public platforms, even the then General Secretary and now Oye Chairman was talking about the fact that, in some of the places I wore Ashanti region, some of our branches, were non-existent. So if your branches are non-existent, please tell me how you can monitor a situation and let the all the excitement translate into votes.
That's right.
So in America say, unless you have a real clear strategy, I would say yes, we have people. How do we make sure that the people can go and vote? How can we make sure we protect their votes? If you don't have that in place and you're not keeping an eye on it, it's not magic. There's a science to elections. All I'm saying and I say, everything that we've seen is because ABI, Yafano say, votes, let's focus elsewhere. It's time to understand that our focus must be on the whole country. Because the whole country is suffering. And in so doing, so one who said, baby, are now would dream say, only votes, one who said, fade, you are getting support, then you must make sure so support's now war or now, what do we need? The optics, must translate into tangible votes come December 7th.
Awesome. Dr. Zaneto Ajiman Rollins, Honorable Member of Parliament, Madishia War. Clote Empesua, so the coolest constituency in Ghana. Or not, Yanene Chicken Commando Pay with Dwaboase Power 97.9 and a TV XYZ. Live on Facebook or Dr. Zaneto Ajiman Rollins Facebook page. Live on Facebook or Power 979 TV XYZ Ghana. YouTube XYZ Broadcasting. Doc, one casa on Pesua, ya your way. Any no may be an answer. Yadi and Yehu, Yadi Aswat to say, wo you. And run me busa akura kofi da ko se obafia me busa say 2 hours per year start tomorrow enti no ani abriana and as there's a genuine interest person puntro about on pesua so
let me say maybe what is happening differently and I say we are showing more of what we've been doing nyama na ye na nya na start here na em say I bet to say yeah call round and profo bisa say oh nyama ya wo say why ye entire hu our social media, so your entire our page. So, inti, amai who say we shouldn't just leave it and assume say jumano de and no. So we're making more of an effort to show the things that we've done. But and yes say afena yasha say say this is not the first time mabaha ya bon niema hon komo. Inti I think you know that over the years idea yen train fan say elections because at the end of the day a DNT now for ejuma way and crofo ato abama say beso momo na ye de was all ye in our case or let me say specifically myself enya dia me dey show keke because it's quite expensive to put things together inti so obey bibisa you must budget for it. There must be clarity in what your plan is. Then you can execute and just say, oh, sorry, now baby, me who baby, I'm sick and free. I can't speak to that. But personally, in order to be able to plan, you must also have the budget and a forecast of the opposite year.
That's right.
Wow. Debbie, it's not for elections. The idea we had a plan on what it was that we needed to do based on a needs assessment. Because at the end of the day, BBR may is based on idea yene nkofo abonkomo yakora yehu baby a wo more challenges ne mano sa ye gina no so e de ye de enti so for example the ye wo I don't know whether to start with a health screening na ye wo just round the corner here nkrofo frɛ ho abeweku na so omomo ete ho no empasa di no news na a very deprived community. Emma says, we started working there a long time ago. I mean, very, very early on, before I even started campaigning towards the seat for Parliament. Yeah, that the first dredging was the first since the said the 80s or 90s that was done. There be main lagoon.
Main lagoon.
Yes.
Wow.
Inti that was not because I was looking for votes. I call why and Crofona said this place used to have a better appearance and could we do something to help? And so for me, said yeah to me no say so fa baby na ade be go enchen ho na eni say edahwa.
Yeah.
You don't walk past it.
That's right.
You know, if you have it in your capacity to fix whatever it is, you must do something. To me, at least see if there's a way that we can correct it. But in your idea, so baby, you genuinely want to help. Now, said this is the situation. If you can, then you do something. And see, we started off there. With some of the big projects, and they were getting a lot of flooding because at the time, before you could cross over you had to cross the lagoon to get to the other side. Now a said in city you talk a crabia na a cutting of that area. We did a drain. It's a huge double drain and with a bridge. And passage into that particular community, I am much easier. And whether it rains or not, you can still use that area. Just say you pick the communities, you understand what their needs are. You obviously have to prioritize because you're using a budget.
Yeah.
Now, based on that, you have to also weigh with the here.
Wow.
Because say ABR, so say ubetimi a tarred road, baby. Now the here more any borehole. To do the tarred road and leave the borehole, it doesn't gel. That's why the needs assessment is so important. Inti bridge na was to complement the efforts of the dredging that had preceded that, and to make sure, say, at least so there was that safe passage to do so. Inti recently a call around, now one say health screening now metaya the rest of constituency meet me to be abahwana because in Colano name Penufono yari and it's a very deprived community in because the health screening is free, the medications are also free in and honestly the week that we had planned to do it and a lot of resources went to that place within a space of just about a week actually because there were a lot of people living in that particular house. A very popular spot. Young people, drafts, ball games, and because of how the societies at the moment, so baby cry, Ranti and Mama can gather and do something. I keep them out of trouble. It's something to support in a community. In Tamara, na yesi debi, or say eko sheho. And to provide them with the materials. No one see a dynobium because it made a few people house homeless, and they had to be housed in there was a church next to the area that they were very generous enough to offer their space. And to tall mosquito coils, mattress, buckets, so that they could be settled temporarily while we provided building materials so that they could rebuild. And then, in that same weekend, NIA health screening, which was very, very helpful.
Yeah.
And
but it sounds like a verdict.
Yes, definitely.
Of
course, because so can say, Bibi to say, all these interventions are supposed to take care of the most vulnerable. Now say most vulnerable, we are not seeing their lives getting better, but we are seeing, say, a police barracks as a CB or one could bubu dining na. Obeshan na yesi obi akoto assassin. Na be a new woman or say forever and ever or there will be for. You understand?
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of almost as if the complete redistribution of the wealth of this country into the hands of a few. Now the American like you have to go and figure out. You can see what is going on. Those who are struggling more and more each day. One ma just say one say asasi one dia bibia Ghana it looks as though they're just taking over everything without thinking about the next generation. And it's not as if this is Ghana's resources. I was say any government so say you are really serving the people. you must understand that there must be equitable distribution of resources. But those who are the most vulnerable must be, catered to. Now, it's as if you don't belong to a certain group, or you are not in their focus. Let's just say, oh dear.
But at the end, show mukutupa. At the end, a tau mechi. At the end, I'm on Hopanya. Omushin Shima dear ye Ghana for dear at your fromosem. Is it a case? Omu ye bibia wa mrakwanswa obian timi ni omunje chini titru ensasia nanka ye busuafo bi dia ya behweme fromosem.
Oh, it's actually quite surprising, and it's a question. Yeah, as a man, maybe some all the time, because I'm asking myself, saying, Ghana, pan, you Pia and Crawford, they're using their incumbency to do our end, It's almost as if, well, initially, Nyama started, people were speaking out. There were demonstrations.
Yes.
There were whistleblowers within the system. But they went after people who were actually raising objections to things. In Tiabaya, to say anybody who was trying to stand up and speak out against what was happening. What happened to the Auditor General? Who came to work as a Ghanaian and left as a Togolese or something. You understand? Where different ways, as a woman technicalities are, woman they destroy people's whether one way or find a way of clearing them out of the system, and it's created almost a culture of silence, and I think a little bit of frustration and fear. But I bear to say, Ghana, for a lot of people have resigned themselves to the fact that okay, fine, so elections no air back into year train.
But in a democracy, no, everything
the checks and balances. Yes. Well, this is another dangerous weakness of our democracy, because even though you can't say we have a hung parliament, no. We have 275 members of parliament, 137 NDC, 137 NPP, one independent who is aligned with NPP.
Yeah.
That means they are the majority.
Wow.
Which means when there's anything, even when we have our full complement, that is the weakness. And you see, if you look at it from a distance, it doesn't make sense. One person. But that is the reality. By simple majority. Well, unless a specific situation where a cancer say a one person BB pass here, you need 2/3 majority, in which case they need a third from our side. But by and large, majority of things are also look, there are a few things on the floor. I just say private members' bills are, and also for example, certain proposals are Omodiako speaker and chain saying said these are some of the things they want to talk about, or even they've actually put a few issues on the floor which they would like us to debate on. Because yeni majority, we are not able to even push far enough for the thing to even come on the floor for us to address it because of the numbers. Inti, when we play games, so Mamenka said, let me put it differently. Say binum ejnan chain can say, oh, sa a NDC MP crapo, you bet
If you say
for whatever reason. What happens is the knock-on effect of targeting even one parliamentary seat is you may lose the opportunity to put the checks and balances in place. It's about to say Parliament, the legislative arm, ideally should have that oversight role and should be able to be a check on the executive. I bear to say, by and large, rubber stamping of whatever is coming from the executive. So it makes it extremely difficult. So the perception, NSA, Parliament is not working the way it should. Yes, in a way, because from the point of view of Parliament ought to play that checking role on the executive. But so often I said the opposition ain't me and yet there also we don't have the numbers. Until when we are voting, the votes do matter and every seat counts. I'll use this opportunity to appeal to people, say a per se Parliament me playing a role properly. Then we should not dismiss the importance of every single parliamentary seat towards that role, that oversight role. I was say a legislative, arm, a play over the executive. Because bear in mind, there's already some weakness in the say. President, the appointees, must come from Parliament.
That's right.
Majority should be from Parliament.
Yeah.
He said that is the case. You have a hybrid situation, which means that Obia or your minister of a particular sector. No, 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 criticizing the one Parliament. No, so original I can't say Papa no the oil no, it's affecting the whole country negatively. Now for them, no, they need to take a principled position. After a while, I think you remember once the motion came onto the floor after we had gone through the entire process. No, we did not win it because they realigned with the party position, and what that meant was a say. Yes, our press conference now, almost say on no. At the end of the day, yeah, to abano say fine, on kono. They didn't participate in the agreement that Papano enko na obi for embejina nenaimu a Ministry of Finance.
Yeah.
So there is an inherent weakness that's happening where I bear to say the party is so strong in its reach within the legislative arm of parliament that even when there's a situation where you should be able to stand up on principle, now because sasemi yes, I don't agree with it. It becomes a danger to your existence as a member of parliament in that sense. Just say 115 position on issue is because we've seen from the 7th parliament there were some ministers or members of the MPP who also took a position on certain things. They didn't make it through their primaries. So it was almost a strong message, say, wow, be yes or no. You better clear way for her. And Parliament keeps losing a lot of very good material because of this thing that keeps happening. And Tiama, it has made the culture of silence in a way, has grown a bit more. And then also the weight of Parliament. Oversight role, I was say a place, said you better check your executive. It's really not happening the way it should.
Break his cycle away. And look, MPP and this and no, I mean what was asking me. Someone's that's a Dr. Zaneto Ajima Rollins. Sebia Munina Musi now what principal stance. 1 minute near 1 jar, a bit mato. Or you go on ahead and take that principal stance and make it known.
To be very honest, my doing things or not doing things is not based on a fear of Ombeto Abama now. Because if that was what it was based on, I'm saying my campaign now may and Cassette may no nyasana may no. Wow. Because the reality is you do things on principle. So can't say BBA because of votes and I think so at the end of the day the reality is we must be principled in what we do. We must be, because and yes you have a problem in that how are you different? What are you doing differently? Yes, I think what I will say is you've seen the way I've taken a position on issues over the years.
That's right.
When by God's grace we come to power,
I'm on majority.
Just keep your eye on me.
Okay.
And not just that. For me, we have to be checks on one another. Inti se bibi wo hona BBC. Now you feel say as your representative, because your constituency nini. So you feel say as your representative, where your government muna BBC na it is wronger. Na means me and Huanka. You must bring it to my notice, whether privately or publicly, because at the end of the day, we're here to serve the people and the interests of this country. But just to quickly just deviate, na member maybe ama constituents no. Minim sa wonim a public private institution IFN Design and Technology Institute. Somewhere around Legon area honum. 1 more year a vocational training. It's more or less an NVTI school. Menya 11 students young people, youth, new students. And selecting one more free the different electoral areas. And they were more alcohol. Na sa school I will encourage you to Google it and have a look at it. Okay. Very, very, very good. To be quite honest, MPP, if they knew really what they were about, they needed to use that as a gold standard for what the vocational training should be. Trese, it's a fully sponsored Trese, the cost of their state tuition there. And it's a boarding facility as well. So they have a hostel, they're provided with meals, they do training for them, and it's a holistic approach, Trese. And it is also the work ethics. said you see ye juma obeko baby a we juma obi atimi who said baby o free no train na ye de ma no said you fit well in an institution, how you communicate with people ni nyina e kan sa a training no ho and no very very important. I felt say you can say we want to empower the youth and ye kasa nkwa na de na sebe ampa sika hia ye nyina but enye say e be chiche sika and e be ma ye youth no agina woman so if you empower the youth with the know-how, with the means and the opportunity, they want to stand on their own 2 feet and determine their own destiny. For me, this was a tangible way in which we do such a thing to support your youth. Now, I got about, I'll say about 20 plus young people as well, a mixture of both a man and mema. You do what call a fashion industry, garment construction and fashion, and also a fully sponsored a training. Said a bear ebi obi ewo passion be a opese odisua bibi but sika od be koya sa training oni bi, and so by virtue of that no ontimi break a poverty cycle no. Sometimes you need to pull someone out, give them that opportunity, then they can make the rest of their way. Until we've done a lot of that as well. So Obekaya, the last 2 weeks we've hosted the elderly people in Merwane in Kokrano. Yeah, hosted Omokakra about say a year total now. I think the Adabraka sector was over about 700.
Wow.
And Osu sector was about 650.
At the national level, no, you bit my phone. But that's
the essence of the leap. That's part of it. It's supposed to be a system that's supposed to make provision for that particular age group. But beyond that, as a country, how are we tapping into the knowledge and experience of that age group? No? Because honestly, we have a real problem. And it's not just the economic issue. Our education system has collapsed. Some time back now, make us say that free SHS no, the execution was very poor. No? DDA and I may say and you say free this free debut. But whether something is free or not, you must do it properly so that it doesn't fail. The sustainability of every project is important to the final outcome. Intermediate, I am share because I'm wondering what is going to be that impact on our workforce in 5 years' time as a result of a breakdown in our educational system. I'm paying a lot of attention to the education of young ones at work constituency. Whether it's supporting the schools. Some schools even in this constituency. And also, we've provided them lights in the school because they don't have enough, lights, and the people are breaking into the schools. I think it's an indictment on this government. Things need to be better.
Honorable Memoir Trason, and Mamoa dealing with some specific issues. Now, watching Yentia, Yamfire Range, said John Mahama, Azania de Comono, Abanawe, but talk about John Mahama, Sabri Wakasa, Ewo, a year, Kumase, Yentia, the Kakrebi. Nafi ya tuwa nkomono so. Yedie John Mahama.
Sa adwenu eye adwen dada. Ene adwen wo ho ne se. Woto aba ema abanya ebeba be sakra wasetena na ma okrum atumpon. If we say Sabi abroni beye. NDC wa be mu. Ye checha asantimanya ni chefa. Ye basic community day schools. Asantimanya basic bi ha. Ye basic ayarisabia asantimanya basic bi ha. Ye be yi akwan asantimanya be yi akwan wo ha. Yesi airport asantimanya be ye bi wo ha. Ye basic market asantimanya be si bebre wo ha. Ezu na senya ye papa ti kokoso otumfu asante ni kan no ose amanyo ko bia embe kan ya aye ama obanfo no Enti mi kombinsia ebe kan baako enoma ya wasanti bemu. Ezu na edu yemi anomuso MPP so. Se omuso mbeka ade omaye wasanti bemu. Me say Ubani Alanchemante, Mayani minister, we Mayani minister, Yaka and Puntru, Yaka and Yoma Besakrani Passitra. And then Yajinahe, Minife, Kedetia, Ejuma Ekoso, Edisika Ebra Santimai. Enti, where the Ankani Bibri. 7th December 2024. Yewo akwenya say your best science e was antibemu ha. Say nebeya abaya eba asantima etibiko ne nimdo. Na asamba abetua enjuma ni nyina so. Make us say Kenya market phase 2 and Irene is hono. Make us say Kumasi International Airport Terminal and Irene is hono. Make us say Afari Military Hospital Ayashasi and Irene is hono. Make us say Syria Hospital Ayashasi and Irene is hono. Acquiring the Yankawa Sam Kra. Echuma Kwabre, your friend almost saying. Kwabre is for Eka Omokwayasem. And why your man Pegimba Omonese on your Fahu. Number 2 ma bambo bia enyo na asem.
His Excellency John Dramani Mama Kafra feed no atekwa kakra, but at least nin 70 bia waborobro so no yatia ama watwi abanye nim kakra se ketia phase 2 e na anwe ne sin Kumasi airport terminal yi ayeye e na anwe ne se phase 2 no. I mean, I say, I could be and all day casa.
I say, you're no crowd, betting me a casa.
Well,
that's it. You see, your work speaks for yourself, and on no air can ask them because I better say, when to me and can't do, yeah, na. Yet intro and a campaign. Into Ojina no cry so, and all can't do why.
Okay,
now, baby, Ojina crab on. So can't ask them, and a camera no just panned.
That's right.
The shot. Point being, at the end of the day, which made the intro, but when the critical time comes, no, Necrono, if it is there, it's there for everybody to see. Into where a live feed, and yeah, later now the pictures in the bed share. Into the fact is, a lot of work happened under his presidency, and after he left, a lot of the projects started still hanging. Ebino mo why I started using a chess one must say one more official commissioning bia said be a yembo be a din say we in a year and I mean Bekate ribbon. Fine. Either way, we still know who did what. One whom baby I drew no Ghana for discerning. And I think that we should give the voters credit. Yes, name my din.
Yes.
Na yenim say emreno swa ebino disikaba ba say trying to spoil votes. But said, dear, you who a war as Sen North no. And no, na me what GDA say that December 70, and no, be ye Juma, because at the end of the day, 7 years going on to 8 years, a dear boom. A dear na why ya, just say, wait to me, I said, what, 8 years of hardship, now, person a big one. Intimate is a term now we use, I don't even want to use it. Men can crap.
Okay.
Point being, more hardship. Is it you want to cause more pain? Message bang and now would you so every year campaign. I just said there's something that one can show say and the NDC no year na year we. I'm trying to why.
I didn't know any John Mahama. Why him?
Antina I didn't
know. Yem fire rare and said John Mahama.
On NDC name, he's our flag bearer.
Yeah.
And your best start here, no. And one is on better to know because this government has been given the opportunity to finish a lot of projects I'll start here. We're still waiting.
I didn't think you from Franto. Alan Chamati, and not cheddar. Me
NDC ni me mint na high embo be for
No, I know
because at the end of the day, I know what NDC represents.
Right.
Minim ejuma yaya magana yebitimi aye biaka ho. We know how to bring things from that point of hardship to bring things into a better state. We've seen it. We have a history of where we have come into the difficult situation. We've made it better now. Obi now abe enjoy the yen na yeko drum yen na yeko efum. We go and dig. We plant. We water. We plant everything, but we don't capture. Yenim se adiana yeduano brona yeduano. Enya yentia na yedua yentia. We all support the growth of that, and we make sure that the whole country benefits. Ebinom say. Ya wo weduano eno na me bedi na me dia me nkwa na me di na chese me nja krapo ebi emma obi foforo. That is not what NDC does. I can't speak for any of those other people, but what I know is what my party can do and what my party has been doing. And the NDC has a track record of getting this country out of difficult situations. I'm say if Ghana 4 have this belief, say come December 7th, this is the right party to vote for. Baby umbrella no one. And why now do Kokrumutin besi ho zoo? Neza. John Mahama a flag bearer.
Yes.
And he has been with the party from time immemorial. He has been through the ranks. With your man Peninda. So Okasa onim what is there. You understand? And for us, no, what it is to make sure that Ejuma was say, oh yeah, around that whole campaign, no. That be and Crawford who say it is important that they come out to vote.
Ashamena ye tree. Amena buying we ye true. Aye na ye dem. His Excellency Jomama. It was 4 years. 4 years old. And you go no baby ye.
And I make answer because of his previous experience, no. We know say enya dia it is with a lack of experience now or they bet na kunyano so. He's coming understanding the challenge. I'm say so what in kasa na or round now or kasa what say the oka say he understands that we are in a difficult situation and it's not something that we will get out of easily. So that clarity is there already. I just said there's the experience of having been in government and what it takes to get things moving. So he is clear about the fact that we must hit the ground running. And why because that clarity is there, that network is there, the historical relationships are there. Be just governance I see at that level. I just said no. Where we are, this is not a time for experimentation. This is a real serious crisis we find ourselves in. For a country like Ghana to be defaulting on our payments, this is really bad. Indeed, this is not a time when we should play guesswork with do we know. Anybody who says they can do it, they can show what they can. Show us your track record. But NDC, we have done it before and we know that we can do it. And that's the country holds us to a higher standard. Sometimes it sounds as if I'm being a little bit tough in my positioning. But the reality is people expect more of NDC. They expect us to do a better job. They expect greater levels of accountability, integrity, and all those other things that are the pillars of good governance. For us, no, these are the things that gave birth to the party. If we can't be true to that, then our existence is meaningless. All
right. Finally, Ansana, you didn't come on a base, and Rabana would take auditorium war, surgeons and physicians. Now, South Africa need this year, Manoni, Etienne, Catcher say. Yeah, Ghana na. Yeah, home of democracy no. And that's how you democracy no. Get us a project. Say no. What you are now very?
Yeah, very. Papa. But the important thing is we already know. And yadia obekaya dia yenim. Yadia yenim. But I think that the fact that somebody from somewhere else, ehuna or kano. I think it's something that we should take seriously as a country. And yadia yemfa say your mampinin kwana was say or checking no. Good. we all have to do introspection. I'll say, what are the different ways in which we can be a part of the solution to dealing with this disease of corruption? Because it's destroying this country to the very core. Now say, this is the home of democracy. If we fail in this democracy, it really sends a bad signal around. We all know what's happening around the subcontinent, the Sahel, what's going on and everything. We're seeing a reversal of democracies because the wrong interpretation and the wrong execution of democracy is causing it to collapse itself. Now we know what the right thing is to do. Now we are putting ourselves at risk. I think we're at the point where it's not obi a well, you can say, but at the same time,
that's right.
I think we really need to sit up, and we should understand that the December 7th election is not simply about the economy. It's about restoring the principles of good governance. It's about making sure that our democracy is solid. It cannot be solid if the foundations are weak. Foundations, no. The economy is bad. What is our greatest problem with the economy? The corruption was at the root of where we found ourselves eventually. Well, if we're talking about a breakdown in discipline, all of these things, it all comes from what we're seeing as this excessive political interference in everything that's going on. I just say, BBC na obi every office can say be after policeman or say, oh, papa na moche no na oria saade no mo
order from above. Wow.
When you do that, you're undermining the very things that make sure that our democracy is protected. Into December 7th election, it's about the youth and it's about the values that matter to us. Those principles that hold us up. The nokreno, the accountability are so key. And the youth are the ones who we should focus on because they are the majority of our citizens. They are the majority of our voters. They will decide. But we need to let them understand that everything we're doing is for them to have something better that they can take over from. You understand? And for us, this is not a matter of just winning an election and just coming to power. We have a lot that we need to come and fix, but we cannot do it alone. And the people of Ghana need to give us that support. Say, emreno so na wempie anko toa bana. Change na yeshwehwe. We will not get it. Until we need that full support. Live feed na yehuno. Thank God for social media. Thank God for live feed.
That's right.
Because of that, people can see in real time the President Mahama Eka Ewo Kumasi. Just say you can see for yourself what's there. Nya dia will be to radio so ebi a won't say oh you say a doma bahopao but wa won't find we need. So this is we're taking advantage of the technology that we have to actually make sure that people are getting real live information on what's going on.
That's right.
It's to our advantage. Which means that wherever things are not going on well, it's not imagination. And for me, this election is about the youth. This election is about the principles of good governance. This election is about transparency, accountability, probity, and dealing with the corruption issue.
All right. Messages are how to about Baba Minkah na memfa summarize memfa so. Ade message ba ko edi akotene pa na say ye very common in the thread. Questions amanfo bisa say e de na wo say Ghana said the bay ye be see ye gina brana na ye what that no. E brana over power of blessed memory president. We're taking the lead role in Africa. E de ye beti my ye. Me say see sa gina pay ni bio.
It comes down to good governance and leadership. At the end of the day, Yemfa Bibi as simple as this issue with the lithium. Okay. So if at this stage, as a country, we can't negotiate a deal for this country so that the people of this country and generations into the future will maximize the benefit from a resource that is finite, then it's better to leave it in the ground. Leave it until you can come up with a contract that will be of good benefit to the country and not make us remain beggars when we have the resources. We must be able to determine the terms and conditions that will benefit us and the future. Something like this, we have it, no. We should be able to project What are the things that we need? How much will it cost us to do all of those things? And understand, so contract now will sign on. Will it be able to help you do that, or will you need to go and get a loan? If you have the resource, now for a resource, why don't you make sure that in doing that contract, you are projecting into the future? What are your needs as a country?
That's right.
We have the National Development Planning Commission. It's not there for nothing. We've done our national census. We know what our needs are. We know the population. We know where the problems are. How do you use that? Put it into figures and transpose that against what you have in terms of your resource and see. Make sure, look, lawyers know your PE. Consultants know we can hire them. There are countries around the world that have done it well. Let's learn from best practices and see how do we make sure that Ghana gets the biggest chunk from this particular resource. If you cannot do that, then wait. We shouldn't tie ourselves into a contract where we look back tomorrow and say, to do much better. We've lost out already on how much we get with our gold.
Yes.
In fact, with majority of our resources.
Yes.
So why don't we take our time and ensure, say, lithium, we make sure that Ghana benefits the most from it. If we can't do that, we should wait. There are a lot of countries that want a lot of resources, but they've decided, say, they are not in a position to maximize the benefit from it. They will wait and see when it's a better time to. And we can do the same. We have other resources that we can do better with. But dear Meme Peno, recently, who said Ghana had to pay a huge judgment debt. A judgment debt that was born out of some kind of a course behind the scenes. I fair bet to say, fine, so I won't find Diana Mammy and then say, I'll get rid of your contract. Judgment debts no nene betia. At the expense of Ghana? At the expense of future generations? I think we need to put a little bit more resistance to this particular issue. Dig your heels in. This is an election year. If there are things that cannot be done properly, train.
Fantastic.
Yes. So I feel proper leadership and projection into the future of what it is that we are looking for as a country.
Absolutely. Doc, I don't say any obre. Maybe I'm sure we have maybe menu dim come out the whole day.
Oh, maybe in the next few months.
Dr. Zaneto Ajman Rawlings, the Honorable Member of Parliament, Madeshiawo, the coolest constituency, Kole Klote. Ebusia Hania de Mubesi, Dwaboase Power 97 point. Ajimani power ni onona all to us radio. So what TV so you must in near Bomonyom. Why? Yebusia. Bye bye.
Say meaning dear me. Nanti kakra na mabre. No one me subrim. Me nani nyina hiti triti.
Baby awo yale.
Me so wan no so.
Enye duro bia na eduro.
Eja